Let's talk money.
I don't have your money.
I know I'd be a lot happier with some extra cash.
Is this about money?
Obviously, this is all about money.
Oh, man, we got bills to pay, buddy.
With practical tips and a focus on scripture, let's talk money. With Dave and Reb. From More Than Enough. Real conversations about money for real people. Let's talk money.
Are you ready to talk money, Reb?
I'm ready to talk money.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is deep in the midwinter. I think there's a song about that. Isn't there midwinter something? Anyways,
That's a Christmas song.
It's a Christmas song, I know. But, here we are in the deep.
In the bleak midwinter?
No, we're in the deep midwinter. Like, this is the David version, right?
Okay,
so
very good.
Here we go. So welcome to the show. We have a special guest with us this morning. We have a topic that we all love to hate. We're going to be talking about this morning. So get your coffee, pull up, warm up to the table.
Oh, yeah. Don't tell them what we're talking about because that's enough.
We'll keep you in suspense. But grab your coffee, warm up to the table. That's right. This morning, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Canadian National Christian Foundation. And I'm going to read it because, well, I should know this. I used to work with the Canadian National Christian Foundation, but I'm going to read what they put down because they want us to know. So the Canadian National Christian Foundation helps Canadians connect God's money with God's work. Through donor-advised funds, CNCF makes giving simple and impactful so you can focus on supporting the causes that matter most. And so if you want to learn more, you can go to cncf.ca, all the information. I mean, I'm a huge advocate. Again, I worked with CNCF a number of years ago, but I love what they do, that mission of connecting God's money with God's purposes. And then again, and there's all kinds of benefits. And part of that is, and we're not talking about that today, but part of that is your estate planning and making sure that happens. And there's a lot
CNCF does. Yeah. So thank you so much for sponsoring the show today.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So Stephen Tibben, thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes, the show what did you say we love?
So should we introduce Stephen?
I'm still
he's been on the show before.
I'm just wondering if people understand what the money topic is that we love to hate.
No, we're keeping them in suspense. We want to introduce Stephen first. So Stephen is one of our
tax specialists.
Oh shoot! I was trying to think of a different word because now you've blown the whole topic. They know we're going to talk about.
He's here to talk about how to raise kids on a tight budget. Maybe that's because he has like a bunch of kids. So
yes,
okay.
Well, he is the tax specialist at More Than Enough. He's our in-house tax specialist, and so welcome to the show, Stephen. So glad you can be here.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Reb.
Thank you. Yes, it is January and there will be another tax show in February. This is the time of year we want to raise your awareness. Anyone who listens to this about tax season, because it seems to be always tax season actually, but the deadlines are coming up for Canadian filing of their income tax. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. The April 30th is the individual tax deadline for most people.
Okay.
So can you give us, because there's a number of deadlines that kind of come up. Obviously, December 31st is a deadline. That's the calendar year end, right? So the money you made last year, too bad. That's it. That's what it is, right?
So you're saying that if you're filing for the end of April,
it's the 2025
year.
Yes.
Yes. From January 1st to December 31st. Okay. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, but there's a few more deadlines kind of in here. So give us the goods.
Yeah. So like the RSP contribution deadline is 60 days after year end. So you'll be looking at getting those in if you're looking to contribute to your RSP. And then if you're a sole proprietorship, you have till June 15th to file. However, if you owe any money, that's still going to be due April 30th.
Right. So even if you're self-employed, and I know this is I often hear this from self-employed people. Oh, I don't have to do it for 6 months after. So again, after the calendar year, so 6 months. And then you're like, no. Do it in April Because if you owe money, and again, not every self-employed person does, but if you owe money, then you're going to start paying interest from April 30th to whenever you get it filed, right? So
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. I want to give like some context to paying taxes. Like that's 2,000-year-old context.
Okay.
I've read these verses before, but I had forgotten them. And I was reading this morning in Romans, and Paul talks about how God is the authority, the final one who actually appoints the leaders in our country, our governing authorities in the context that I have. And Paul invites us not to resist, but to submit to the governing authorities. Like God has put them in our world for our protection. And Paul then says, therefore you must be subject, but not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this, because the authorities in the land are God's ministers to do good. Now, I can hear everybody in the airwaves grumbling, maybe, but it is actually very challenging verse, because it says, for because of this, you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers attending continually to this very thing. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. And then this is one of Dave's favorite verses, I think. Owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves another has fulfilled the law. And it goes on about love. He flips from taxes to love within a few verses, which is kind of cool. But I think I didn't really.
I love to hate taxes. Is that word?
Well, we don't have to like it, but I think if we get God's context of what Paul's saying here, I mean, in the Message paraphrase, it's written, that's also why you pay taxes, so that an orderly way of life can be maintained. Fulfill your obligations as a citizen. Pay your taxes, pay your bills, respect your leaders. And that might be hard in broken down systems. And we're going to have conversations yet in February about some of the trouble that we are having with our tax system. But for the context of today, it is one, Brian Vassich, who used to be in our office, you know him well, Stephen, used to say that, it next to our mortgage, it is one of the biggest financial compliance things Canadians need to be aware of is our tax obligations and filing them.
Yeah, it's also one of the biggest costs most Canadians have is your taxes.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Well, for the average Canadian, you're paying around 30 to 40% or more of your income towards taxes. Right. That's higher than most people pay on their mortgage or their rent. So we just got to keep in mind that that's a big expense.
Mm-hmm. And that needs to be taken care of, and we need to be aware of that.
That we need to be putting money aside, for it. I
mean, and we do kind of automatically. So if you're employed by an employer, that's the responsibility of an employer, is to make sure that they're taking the appropriate amount of taxes off. And there's some variance there, right? Like you have maybe a little bit of choice, or you can adjust that a little bit in terms of how that works with your employer. But at the end of the day, they're taking the tax portion off.
Yeah, they'll take it first. Yeah.
So that's, I wanted to go back to deadlines, because I had a question, and I'm putting you on the spot, Stephen. So this is, big.
This wasn't in our list of questions.
It wasn't in our list of questions, but you talked about the RRSP tax or deadline in February, so February 28th. If you are a first-time home buyer and you're participating in the first-time home buyer TFSA, does that fall under the February 28th deadline, or is that like December 31st?
So you'd want to contribute to it before December,
right? Because
they'll be issuing you your tax slips before February 28th.
Okay, so too bad you missed it.
Late.
I was like, maybe we can slide in. But little side note there, in the sense of in December or January 1, the contribution level increases. So happily, if you miss 2025, you can contribute the same amount in 2026. You just don't see the tax benefit until
next year.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can we just review quickly, what do we need to have prepared for anyone who's listening? Maybe they're new to Canada. They're not quite sure how the tax system works. Sometimes we get those questions at the office. What does a person need for that tax preparation?
So typically items that we'd be looking for would be your T-slips, which are tax slips that normally come from your employer or from your bank. We'll be looking for those.
Is that income? Those T-slips
so
are
yes,
income?
they would be records of income.
Okay.
And then we'll also be looking for some tax credits for you, looking at any medical expenses you spent during the year, along with donations made and digital news credit as well. We'd be looking for those.
What's
receipts.
a digital news credit?
So if you pay, let's say, trying to think of the proper news outlet, any news outlet, if you pay for a subscription, you'd be able to get a tax credit on there.
Really?
So Financial Post, if I'm a Financial Post subscriber to get the Financial Post.
Yep.
Or the Globe and Mail?
Or the Globe and Mail.
I can
Yeah.
submit that. So
I think I should just go subscribe to some of those things so I can get a tax credit. Is that the way to do it?
Let's work that
That's
into the
not quite how
spending.
tax credits work.
Why would now maybe this isn't a question you can ask here. I'm just following my curiosity. Why would a news agency why could we get a tax credit for that?
The government wants us to subscribe to these news agencies to help support them, because in Canada, a lot of our news agencies are actually supported directly from the government. So in order to provide an additional incentive for people, they provide this tax credit.
Has this been around like a long time?
It's been around for a couple of years, yeah.
Wow. I was just going to ask you what's new for taxes. So everybody, it's too late
If
now.
you are already subscribing or did last year to
right,
your news thing, then dig that out. And part of the preparation, and you talked to Reb about what do we need to do prepare, and Stephen listed T-slips, which a lot of the T-slips do get uploaded by your employer into CRA, but it's good to make sure you have your own copy.
Yeah. Yeah. CRA may take quite a while to process those, so they may not get up onto, if you're subscribed to the CRA account, then they may not get up there in a timely manner. So you might be ready to file way before those T-slips get uploaded onto the account.
So I think that's important to recognize, because often we go, oh, well, my employer sent that in, so I don't need to really. But really in Canada, as we're self-reporting, it is our responsibility to make sure that the information that gets submitted on our taxes is accurate, that it's complete, that we've got the paperwork, in a sense, backed up, because anything we submit, has to be justified, I guess, at the end of the day, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So a person can have, if they feel they're not very organized, one of the ways, a couple of years ago, we had this crazy idea to have a tax prep party, and we actually did it with
you got to go back and find that show. If you're listening and you're like, this was an incredible Dave idea that I think I'm hoping has started to snowball into this national holiday,
because
where we all get a day off work so we can do our tax prep party.
Can you imagine if the Canadian government gave us a day off just to prepare our taxes? That would be interesting. Anyway,
that's what Family Day is for. Right?
That's right. Yes.
I thought Family Day was to go out and go skiing or something.
Anyway. Okay, so I have a couple more questions about that. So if you're a person who's fairly disorganized, even if you kept it all in one space in one box, so that where all those receipts are come the end of when you're marching along into March and you have to organize your tax stuff, your donations and your medical expenses, like you said. I do have a question about that, just because I don't know this answer, so I'm asking. If we have insurance and we get 80% of our dental or our prescriptions covered, but 20% isn't, can we claim that 20%?
Yes, you can claim the amount that's not covered by your insurance.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yes, you have.
Have I?
Yes, you have.
Now, with the medical expenses, it depends on your income threshold and the percentages. So you have to reach a certain amount in order for them to be able to be claimed.
Okay, so then would I keep like the full receipt? So let's say the bill's $200 and 160 gets paid. Do I keep the whole receipt and submit the whole receipt? And
You would submit the whole receipt
Okay.
with the breakdown of the insurance.
Okay, interesting. All right, that was another one. I had another question. Now it left me. So I hope you have another one, Dave.
Sure. I mean, I just wanted to pick up on that because you were talking about, the documentation and it does happen over the course of 12 months. And so, one of the ways that we say it's just super easy to do that is to have a big manila envelope where, to be quite honest, if you're unsure and you're thinking, hey, is this tax deductible? Stick it in the manila envelope. And, when you do your taxes, and if you do them yourself, you might have to do a little research and say, okay, I've got, I've been saving my medical receipts all year long. So I at least have the number. And now, is it tax deductible? Or if I've been saving, I know a few years back, I did this is, for a few years, there was the child sport incentive where we could claim the sports. For about 3 years after that, I'm still collecting those receipts because I'm like, hey, Stephen, who does my taxes, you're getting them anyways. You decide if they're
Stephen finally says, you guys, we don't do this anymore.
Because it's just so easy to go, hey, I got the receipt. I'm sticking, what do you do with it? I'm sticking it into a folder. And the same thing in your email. If you've got an email, and a lot of our stuff now comes in electronically, have a folder in your email that says 2025 tax year. And you just throw that into that folder. And then at the end of the day, that's a little bit trickier to send to your tax preparer, but you can go, okay, I got all these things that I've saved in terms of the receipt. You just print them out, or you just, kind of put them together electronically and say, here they are. Or you can go through them if you're doing your own and say, is this good or bad? Ask ChatGTP. It'll probably be wrong, but anyways.
Can you tell me, is it getting harder to prepare your taxes? Like, I'm just thinking about people who would consider, like, why would you go to a tax specialist? Like, we can just do it on our own. Like, is it getting more complicated?
I wouldn't say it's getting more complicated, but it changes every year. There's different changes. Like Dave mentioned, the activity credits that were there are no longer there. And you didn't know the digital news credit, right? Yeah. So it's kind of what you don't know what's going to hurt you. Or you might be claiming something that you're not eligible to claim, or
and then what happens when that happens? So if I'm preparing my own taxes, I do that with what I'm not eligible for. Do they send an audit back to me because it's flagged in the system or something?
Yeah. So CRA will send reviews out to people most of the time. Sometimes there are audits that happen. However, most of the time it's going to be a review where they pick a line item or two on your tax return and ask you to prove it. So you'll have to send your documentation to them.
Okay. And that leads to the other thing I'm going to mention, because you can, when they ask for that, you can upload it into your portal.
Yes.
So can you speak to just for a moment about that CRA portal and why a lot of us as Canadians are being directed to get on that?
Yeah. I mean, their CRA is changing most of their correspondence to the online portal. So they'll send you a note saying, hey, there's mail available in your portal. And that's where you have to log in to receive it. Also, if you're looking to hire an accountant to do your taxes, you're now required to have a portal in order to authorize them on your account.
Okay.
Also, you're able to see any benefit payments that are scheduled to come to you. The review will be up there.
It is actually a handy thing because you can go into it and see actually what's happening with your tax situation.
Yeah, and there's items on there you might not even have thought about, like uncashed checks from previous years. If you missed a Trillium benefit or a GST credit, you might have missed a small check in your past and not even realized it, and
it's sitting
and it'll be sitting there, and you'll be able to see your uncashed checks.
So I want to speak to that because I think, I'm going to say it's not just a good idea. It's kind of an essential part. I mean, again, we have to do taxes, right? I mean, that's part of the, living in Canada. But then having access to that portal and that information, it is essential for a whole lot of things around taxes, around the benefits, around the and it's not easy. If you don't have access to it, it takes almost a month to get access to it because they, again, you log in and they send you a password, and I don't know if they've changed that now, but
so they have changed it now. You can log in immediately. You'll have to take a photo of yourself and of your ID, and then the software will match them and say, yep, you are who you're claiming you are. You'll need a couple items from your previous tax return in order to
So that's an important
do it
piece.
as
If
well.
you want to log in, you actually
they send
have to
you-
have an old tax return.
Right. And so you have the old tax return, you have your ID, you take a picture, which for the older generation, or I would say even my generation and above, might be a little more challenging. You might have to have your kids around to help, but then they send you a password automatically.
So then you're able to set up your password and log in and everything. Now, you can only do this if you don't previously have a CRA account. If you forgot your password, you're still going to have to contact them and work it through with them. However, for new registrants, that's
how you do it.
That's a new process.
Yeah,
that you
because
can do.
it used to be you'd go on, you'd register, and then they'd
mail you a code. Yep.
a code.
That option's still available,
Okay.
but it may take a little bit to get that code in.
Okay. Fair enough.
And one of the keys there is of course, if you're logging in for a purpose, then usually it's a time sensitive purpose, right? So I'm just going to say, take the time when there's no stress, when there's no, when you're not under duress to go, wait a minute, I'm going to get in, I'm going to go through the process, I'm going to log in, I'm going to take and it might take an hour. Okay. If it takes an hour, whatever it takes, set the time aside when you have the time, because we all know what happens. Oh, I have to get access to my CRA for whatever reason. And then you can't, and then you're frustrated. And then, one thing leads to another. So I'm just going to encourage all of you listening. If you don't have access to your CRA, pick a time to do it. Take us, an hour on a Saturday afternoon or something, right? To we're in the deep winter. We're hibernating. Spend some time and get access to that online. Put that in your drop dead binder, or your, put that information so that you can.
We won't talk about the drop dead binder. That's another issue. But Stephen, can you talk about? I know we're a bit going back and forth on a few things. So we've got our portal, we're collecting documents, we're getting the income all released at the end of February. As far as I understand, those income T-slips happen at the end of February.
Yep.
So we're collecting all that documentation, getting the portal up. Now talk to us about some of the benefits. You and I were talking about the disability tax credit. What is that? Is that a new thing, or there's just been more? I see more stuff in the news about it. So why is that?
Yeah, it's not new. It's been around for quite a while. However, CRA has been allowing a broader scope of what they consider a disability. So it's meant to help people with disabilities, with their financial strain of that disability might have on them.
Right.
It can also be transferred if you had a child with a disability. You could then claim the child on your tax return and get the credit for yourself.
Okay.
It kind of helps you support your child because you might need additional resources for that disability, or take additional time from your work in order to help your child. So having that tax credit helps you financially with your disability. So,
and that one you have to do in conjunction with your doctor, right? Like they have to kind of vouch for you.
Yes, there's two parts to the application. The first part you fill out yourself. It has your name, your social insurance number, all that kind of jazz on it, your contact info, and who's going to claim the credit.
Okay.
So that information's part one. Part two is filled out by your doctor, and that is more medical on describing what disabilities you have, why you might be claiming for this disability tax credit. So your doctor is going to fill that out.
Is it getting easier because they've made a wider scope? Because I've talked to some folks who have just had such trouble getting this tax credit, like even when they've needed it. Is it getting easier because they broadened the scope, or they've just broadened the scope and
it depends on the doctors.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that really decide, okay, is this disability credit for you, or are you not actually meeting the scope, depending on the range of disability you have?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That one's always a tricky one. We get asked about that often.
Sounds like there's a bit of a matter of opinion on both sides. There's the matter of opinion on the doctor's side, but then CRA looks at it and kind of goes, hey, do you qualify as well?
Yes, CRA may come up with a different opinion from your doctor.
From your doctor too.
So one of the benefits, just as we come to the end of the show, about having someone do your taxes is that because not all of you can have Stephen Tibben, sitting with you in your podcast, although we've tried to do that this morning to get some questions answered. But it is nice when you have someone who knows how to do taxes, knows the new things, as you mentioned, new things for 2025 that maybe we'd be unaware of. So if you've questions about your taxes, you might look into having someone do them for you. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think that, information, as we've said in a lot of areas, especially with this where the information's constantly changing. I mean, different things coming and going, the government makes different rules. That in and of itself is helpful to go, you don't know what you don't know, as we often say. So, saying, okay, I'm going to do my taxes myself and I don't know what I don't know. And maybe they're super easy, or I'm going to engage a tax preparer and say, okay, somebody who actually knows what the changes are. Technically, it's not terribly difficult. You just follow the line items and fill in the amount. But there are, like I said, there are things that you don't know, and that's where tax preparers can really help. So
yeah, and coming up in February, we are going to talk about CRA's idea to do low-income taxes for Canadians. So we're going to talk about that and what that could look like for you this season.
We get to have Stephen back again into the office to talk about that. So that's super. I guess the big encouragement, just as we wrap up, is you got to do them. Like, get over that hump and say, like, whatever it takes, just go ahead and get the taxes done. Delaying, putting them off for year over year does not, that is not helpful. So there's my last word of encouragement, and want to give a shout out to CNCF and their support of us. And again, they make giving easy. They make estate planning. They work with you on that front so that they can connect God's money with God's purposes. And that, we've been talking about taxes, so that's just a good support there. Reb, do you want to
pray? Thank you, fathers, that your word says that you are the authority that gives us governmental authorities, and you've asked us to pay our taxes and to owe no one anything but a debt of love. So, Lord, will you help shift our thinking when it comes to being compliant with CRA? And help us navigate the systems that are breaking down. And we ask this because we need your wisdom and knowledge in these things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and join us next week when we talk money.
Let's Talk Money is a division of More Than Enough Financial Fitness, where God is transforming hearts and bringing hope for today and freedom for tomorrow. For more information or to comment on today's show, please visit morethanenough.ca.